Hi, this is Pamela Parker, Research Director of the Content Studio at Third Door Media. And I'm here to remind you that the Search Engine Land Awards are now open for entries. So get your team recognized for the outstanding work they do in search marketing. Visit this link to enter today, and good luck.
Hello, and thank you for joining me today. We're going to talk about lead gen advertising in the automation era. But first, before we get into today's presentation, a little bit about me. I'm Menachem, and I've been running digital ads for 2 decades. I've learned a few things along the way, and I'm hoping to share some insights on lead gen with you today. As you know, digital advertising has evolved quite a bit over the years. Personally, I love the challenge of learning something new. But nowadays, all you hear is AI this, AI that. And one thing that's for certain is that the march towards automation and AI has been very evident for some time now. It seems like there's a new feature or some kind of AI functionality almost every week. The ad platforms work in a completely different way today than they did even 3 or 4 years ago. The job has always been evolving, sure. But one thing I've learned is to embrace change. Years ago, you can get by without any automation or AI. Today, you have to lean into it. So how can AI help you and make your work more impactful? Algorithms can help you get more done faster. But the algorithms are only as good as the data and inputs that we give it. The AI needs oversight. You can't just set it up and forget it. Interestingly enough, sometimes you can have a bigger impact on a campaign's performance by focusing on things that are not in the ad account, such as landing page optimization, copy, creative, your sales process, and so on. If you don't adapt, you're going to get left behind. At this stage, you're already late to the game if you haven't started using some form of AI. So let's get into it. Today, we'll talk about how to set your strategy, leverage the latest technology in the ad platforms, and everything in between. So first things first, before you log into the ad account, what is your strategy and how will it be implemented? Everything that you're doing is to generate inbound queries. You're going to be spending money to bring people in. So think about, where will the leads go? Who will follow up with them? Typically, we recommend using HubSpot or Pipedrive for a simple and affordable CRM, but make sure you have a place to store the data. AI algorithms use conversion data to target. So if you see that you're getting a lot of spam leads, the system will think it did well and it's going to go for more of the same. We call this the feedback loop of doom. And it's important to block the spam from making through to your landing page and triggering the conversion tracking pixel. Otherwise, the ad platform doesn't know the difference between a good and a bad lead. But again, not all traffic is equal. Not every business can see results from the same strategy. It's important to have a strong understanding of the different ad platforms and set yourself up for success. Understand what works for your specific use case. What does your sales process look like? How fast do you reach out to new leads? How often are you following up? Are you reaching out in multiple ways, sending emails, texts, calling, leaving a voicemail, and so on? And then, what does your strategy look like? I like to keep it simple when starting out. We start with the bottom of the funnel, capture whatever Google search volume is available around action-oriented keywords. Think about keywords of somebody looking for a specific solution to a certain problem, or looking for a contractor, a developer, a doctor, a lawyer. Those are the kind of keywords that will convert much faster, but there is a finite amount of this search volume available. Go after that first, targeting phrase and exact match keywords with smart bidding. Then later on, you can add on other things, and you can layer on meta ads or paid social, things of that nature. So you've outlined the plan and you've set your goals. Now what? What are your options? Of course, there are a million places to advertise and a ton of different ad types that you can use. For lead gen, my typical recommendation again is to start with paid search, capturing that portion of whatever search volume is available on Google and Microsoft. Then layer on paid social, create new demand, and retarget users on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Always starting with the basics, keeping it simple. There's not much AI to use from the outset. You're going to start by capturing searches from exact match keywords, phrase match keywords on Google, maybe Microsoft. Use more manual bidding and strong negative keywords. Just try to sculpt and make sure you're getting the best quality traffic that will convert. Your goal is to collect data. At this stage, really, there's, again, not much AI to use, but you can use tools like Gemini for search to help write ad copy, which we'll get into a bit later. As you begin to gather data and increase the scale of your efforts, you'll start to lean into more algorithmic offerings, expanding search from phrase and exact to broad match keywords with smart bidding. Be careful not to use broad match with manual bidding. It's not as smart. When you use smart bidding, it does have a lot of additional insight to understand what the consumer is looking for, where each individual user is in their journey. So make sure to utilize broad match in conjunction with smart bidding. Once you've done what you can to capture paid search, start looking for new customers on paid social. Additionally, you can start to look at more automated campaign types. So, like I mentioned, the ad platforms are really pushing into automated algorithmic campaigns. Google has Performance Max, Meta has Advantage Plus, and tailored campaigns. These advanced campaign types remove a lot of the granular controls and are definitely more algorithmic in nature. But we need to approach them with a different mindset. Instead of controlling the campaign performance more directly, our job is to guide the machine, guide the ad platform, and control the performance a bit more indirectly. Again, the ad platforms have been improving their algorithmic bidding and targeting drastically over the years. Automated bidding today is a lot better than manual bidding for most. Again, with low volume search campaigns, you typically do want to stick with manual. But in most cases, as you scale, you want to lean into smart bidding because it can look at thousands of data points in real time. It's miles ahead of manual campaigns at this point for scale. Again, do we use manual campaigns, manual bids? Sure. But again, mostly on smaller campaigns where the volume is too low for the smart bidding to really succeed. Targeting as well is becoming a lot more automated. Performance Max, tailored campaigns, Advantage Plus, all this stuff really removes your ability to target consumers directly. It makes audiences more of a signal. It becomes a suggestion for the algorithm as opposed to direct audience targeting. This can be very powerful when you're not 100% sure of which audience to target, or you've already saturated your target audience. So it allows the targeting to become a lot more algorithmic and really expand wherever conversions are coming from. I think that there are still use cases where you want to use more direct or detailed targeting as opposed to the algorithmic targeting. I find that with specialized lead gen, specific audiences can work very well on both Meta and Google. These could be using your first-party data, lookalikes of your existing customers, or maybe even detailed interest targeting, targeting folks who work in specific industries or companies, specific life events, parental status, things of that nature. In this example, you see here, a Facebook campaign targeting high-end luxury lifestyle users. Something like that, the algorithm can go after, but if you're starting out small, the system doesn't have a lot of data, you might want to lean more into the detailed targeting and come to the algorithmic end of it a bit later. I think this is very different from e-commerce, where the ad platforms see the revenue in real time. With lead gen, you're getting a lead today, it might turn into a sale tomorrow, the next day, or even 6 months from now. So it's really important to focus in on these kind of things. Additionally, with attribution, the algorithms use the data for targeting and measuring the performance of your campaigns. Google's default is to measure 30 days from when an ad was clicked on. Meta typically defaults a one-day click and a one-day view. I don't like to look at view through data, so just make sure you set the right targets and configure attribution properly. For Meta, I think the best thing to do is a 7-day click-through. This gives you enough time to capture whatever leads come through. But again, most leads do come through within the first 24 hours from what I've seen. But give yourself a bit of extra space to measure the campaign properly. So you got them to click on the ad. Now what? Oftentimes, folks will show me their new website or landing page, and it'll be a desktop version. The first thing I would tell you is make sure to always design for mobile first. No one uses desktop anymore, aside for us when we're at work. In this example, you can see how the page becomes more appealing and will likely convert better by adding scarcity, having clear headlines, prominent call to action, above the fold, some social proof. Spend the extra time to get your landing page right so that the user can very easily understand what you're offering and know what action to take. If you have a new page that's working, test new elements. Try different headlines, maybe a different call to action, different color buttons. Always test and see what converts best. Sometimes I'll come across a headline that is very clever, but users might not understand what you're offering. I always tell clients, don't try to be too clever. Clear copy is what converts. Try to keep it as simple as possible and state your unique selling propositions clearly. Lastly, and most importantly, always click on your ads. Test everything. Fill out the form. Make sure that everything works as you intended it to work. Because the last thing you want to do is spend money and drive people to a page that doesn't work or a mismatched message or so on. So you got the lead. Now what happens? At the end of the day, we're all in business to make money. Your ads, your landing pages should speak to your prospective customers using the same verbiage as your sales team, your marketing materials, your ad copy, your landing page copy. Everything should use the same cohesive language and design principles as your sales emails, your pitch decks, or whatever other marketing materials that you have. It should definitely feel cohesive from the ad down to the sales pitch. Always speak to customers' pain points. Think about how your product or service will help them. A couple of examples here is speak to what someone might worry about when looking for a specific service. And importantly, you want to make sure that you're pulling data from your sales cycle back into Google Ads or Meta Ads. Google recently started rolling out a revamped data manager. You can very easily connect your CRM, map your sales pipeline. Meta has the ability to send custom conversions through the Conversions API. You could fire the pixel on your web pages or submit conversion actions with a tool like Zapier. Take advantage of these so the system knows what's important to you. Go beyond measuring and counting how many leads your campaign generated, but allow the system to see what each of those leads turned into as it progressed through your sales pipeline. And of course, following up with your leads and bringing that data back into the ad platform. So a lead becomes a qualified lead, becomes a quote, becomes a closed won customer. And then the system starts to see what's generating real revenue for your business. So how do we do that? And why should we import the leads? Again, Google's platform does have the ability to connect directly through HubSpot, Salesforce, and some others. If you're using a different CRM, you typically can connect it through Zapier. And again, setting up custom conversion actions in Meta. So what is this all done for? Ultimately, it's, as I mentioned, to educate the system. Help the ad platform understand which leads progress through your pipeline as compared to the ones that were irrelevant, unqualified, or unreachable. In the example I'm showing here, let's say for Google Ads, you're tracking all your leads. Everything comes in with a value of 0. Maybe from 10 leads, 5 of them will be qualified. Those will then have a value marked of 10. And from those, several might turn into a scheduled appointment or negotiate a proposal. And those will have an increased value, whatever makes sense for your business, until ultimately it becomes a closed won deal that should ideally send back actual revenue data to Google. If you don't have the actual value or your sales cycle takes a while, you can put in average numbers for any of these. I'd say that the importance of working with data today is not really optional anymore, because without sharing data, you won't get results. If Google doesn't know the difference between 100 different prospects or leads that came into the system, how will it know which ones to target going forward? And so your goal becomes, give the system as much data as you can to train it so it can understand what's really moving the needle for your business. I think that everything is always trickier with small accounts because there are fewer clicks and fewer conversions. The system has less data to make decisions. So if you're new to search and you're launching a new campaign, take your campaigns live using a manual bidding campaign, phrase match keywords. Spend the first few weeks of your budget on acquiring traffic and data. Again, your goal in that first period is less about teaching the system, more about gathering data, generating some leads. And then after you get statistical significance, you can switch to broad match and smart bidding because the system will have more data to use to be effective. Along with this, you want to make sure you do a few other things that will tell Google how to improve the types of conversions that it brings you, integrating your CRM, your customer database with Google, either natively or through Zapier. Pass back that information on which leads turn into sales to help Google optimize, and monitor the search terms to apply negative keywords and filter out unwanted traffic. I think that as you move to value-based bidding, that becomes less important, but typically any brand new campaign you start out with, whether with manual bidding or smart bidding, you really do want to monitor the negative keywords closely and make sure that you're only driving the best quality traffic. The other thing to keep in mind with low volume accounts is that Google loves to push Performance Max, and it's a great tool. It can really do fantastic things. But for small budget, low volume campaigns, we almost always recommend sticking with standard search, manual bidding, phrase match keywords. And again, the reason is just that there's just not enough data for the system to make smart decisions, in my experience. At the same time, I try not to overcomplicate things. We typically like to keep campaign quantity and structure as light as possible for newer accounts, especially with smaller budgets. Creating too many campaigns or ad groups can hamper Google's ability to maximize your impression share and conversion volume. For example, I typically advocate for one search campaign with a couple of ad groups built around keyword themes. Obviously, with larger budgets, we'll layer on additional campaigns, but I think the best rule of thumb is start with one campaign, and as you have separate budgets for different campaigns or different performance goals, different locations, things of that nature, those are valid reasons to start splitting out your campaigns into multiple campaigns. So we talk a lot about AI and different algorithmic campaign types. But outside of the ad platforms, how can you use free or affordable AI tools to level up your strategy? I'm going to walk through a few of these ideas now. For starters, understanding your audience. You can ask ChatGPT, Gemini, or any of these tools about your target demographic. In this example, I'm doing audience research for a mold remediation company or a kitchen cabinet brand. So I want to know what the typical homeowner in a specific region might be worried about, what their life might be busy with, or who the local competitors are. You can then use this data to inform your go-to-market strategy and use this to help with objection handling. Additionally, you can use GPT or Gemini to prompt the system to help you write copy for your ads or landing pages. I'd say that at this stage, generative AI is great for ideation, coming up with different ideas. Tell the system, give you 10 headlines for ad copy. Work through them and see what makes sense for your goals. I don't typically recommend using anything the system outputs as is, but it can do a lot of the heavy lifting for you and come up with amazing ideas that you might not think about. Something cool I've seen people talk about that we're starting to test is just taking your reviews from Google, from any service provider, and dump them into ChatGPT and ask the system to add headlines based off of what your customers say about you. It helps you come up with new ideas in a way that a customer might think about it. And again, similar to standalone Gemini, Google Ads has a functionality to generate headlines, descriptions using Gemini for search. In addition, you can generate images inside of your Performance Max campaign under asset groups. You can use these tools to come up with new ideas or new creative assets, especially if you don't have too many assets to work with. Meta Ads also has the ability to generate additional headlines using their version of AI within the ad platform. So take advantage of these tools to be creative and come up with new ideas. If you're working with video assets, another cool tool hidden inside of Google Ads, in the asset library, they have a couple of tools. You can upload a video and add a voiceover, which adds like a robot voice video. You have the ability to trim a video, which can create shorter versions of your video assets algorithmically, which is great for creating variations of your video or condensing longer videos into shorter versions of it. In a similar way, you can use something like Opus Clips, which can take a long video input. It'll add subtitles, choose clips from your longer video, and create multiple short form clips to support you across any advertising channel. All in all, I'd say there's a lot more to a successful campaign than what is in the ad platform. I'd encourage you to think outside of the box, which is the ad platform. Start by building your strategy. Set yourself up for success by minimizing spam, but ensure you understand the limits of AI. Clearly showcase what sets your business apart. Qualify your leads and learn from the data. Exercise caution, of course, especially with lower budgets, and take advantage of free and affordable tools. It's important to remember that the ad platforms have a ton of data it uses to make decisions with bidding or targeting. Most of the time you won't see this data, but it's there and it works. So lean into this and take advantage. Of course, test everything, but test carefully and slowly. Watch over performance, remembering that the ad platforms and the AI can help, but our job still needs to be done. Layer automation on top of your strategy and your data, set realistic goals, and make it happen. Personally, I've resisted change for a long time because I wanted control, but ultimately I realized that automation and AI are just tools in the toolbox, and how we use it is important. It's definitely not too late to adapt. Thank you again for joining me today. I hope to see you at the next SMX.